pizza.
Hello and welcome to another marvelous video. I'm your host Will. Everyone loves a good alien film, but not all alien films are created equal. And in this video, we're gonna look over some B-grade cult status alien movies that you might want to take a second look at. Let's get to it, shall we? Alien invasion movies have a long history. So many of them have deeply ingrained themselves in our minds. Movies like A Quiet Place, E.T. the Extra-terrestrial, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Arrival, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers are arguably some of the greatest movies of all time. And you know the one thing they all have in common? They all revolve around extraterrestrial entities and alien invasion. These are top-tier films, and no one can take that away from them. However, in this video, we're gonna talk about 8 cult B-grade alien invasion movies that you simply cannot afford to skip at any cost. Alright folks, without wasting any more time, let's jump right in.
People turning south from the freeway were startled when they saw 3 flying saucers.
Plan 9 from Outer Space, 1959. Plan 9 from Outer Space is an American B-grade alien invasion movie released in 1959, and I'm afraid a lot of people don't know about it. Edward D. Wood Jr. produced, wrote, directed, and edited it. This movie is absolutely bonkers, and I don't mean to say that it's bonkers in a good way. Movies like David Lynch's Blue Velvet, Ari Aster's Beau is Afraid, and the Coen brothers' Barton Fink, those movies are insane and surreal in a good way. But this movie, on the other hand, belongs to that category of so bad it's good movies. Ever heard of Tommy Wiseau's movie The Room? If not, Google it, and you'll immediately understand what I'm talking about. In fact, some Redditors believe that it's a better so bad it's good movie than The Room, completely subverting the way we compare movies. So what exactly is this movie about? Well, in this movie, a bunch of aliens are trying to stop humans from building destructive weapons that are capable enough to destroy the entire universe. So, for their 9th plan, they launch Plan 9 and try to bring the dead back to life. Flying saucers are seen on Earth, and the aliens manage to make 3 corpses come back to life. One of them is a murdered police inspector, and the other 2 are a widower and his recently deceased wife. The sets are bad. You can see tombstones made of cardboard, a plain cockpit that consists only of a curtain and 2 people sitting on chairs. A UFO is described as something that's cigar-shaped, but when it appears, it looks like a saucer. The dialogues are badly written. Edward Wood also shot certain scenes day for night, and the film is filled with obvious day for night continuity mistakes. The movie is riddled with one disaster after another. But, despite all that, it manages to entertain the hell out of people. It's independent filmmaking gone wrong, in a way that would make you sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
Pizza.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space, 1988. Killer Clowns from Outer Space became a cult movie for several reasons. Directed by Steven Chiodo, this film is known for its colorful and eye-popping production design. Despite all the over-the-top silliness and goofiness, certain scenes in this movie are genuinely creepy and unsettling. It's about a bunch of alien clowns with oversized heads who invade a small town on Earth. They capture and kill several townspeople, and then they put their bodies in cotton candy cocoons on their ship, which looks like a circus tent. Many people in the town get tricked by these clowns and believe that they are harmless, but a few young people believe otherwise and decide to take the matter into their own hands. Arming themselves with an ice cream truck, they decide to fight against the evil clown army from outer space. The set pieces are colorful, and the movie is weird in an entertaining way. There is a scene in this movie that is set in a police station in which Officer Dave's partner, Officer Mooney, is turned into a ventriloquist puppet and sits on a clown's lap. That scene would genuinely shock and terrify you, as it's way too unsettling for a B-grade movie that doesn't take itself too seriously. Despite its flaws, this cult classic is bound to entertain you. Number 3. Night of the Creeps, 1986. When Night of the Creeps was first released in 1986, it failed to become a theatrical hit. But since then, it has attained a cult following. This is a movie that refuses to be put in a box. It's a mashup of multiple genres. It can be a college comedy, or an alien invasion movie, or a zombie movie, or a noir movie centered on a cynical detective akin to Sam Spade from The Maltese Falcon. especially if you watch it from the perspective of Tom Atkins' character, Detective Ray Cameron. The director and writer of the film, Fred Decker, has named most of the main characters after some of the most iconic horror filmmakers: John Carpenter, Sam Raimi, George Romero, Tobe Hooper, and James Cameron. The movie starts with a bunch of aliens in space. Two naked aliens are chasing the third alien, who is carrying a mysterious container. The alien who is being chased throws the container into space. That container reaches Earth. There, the space slugs that were inside that mysterious container get inside a man named Johnny. At the same time, his girlfriend Pam is attacked and killed by an axe murderer. And then, years later, at Corman University, we see a bunch of college kids and their relationships with each other playing out. One day, both of them, Chris Romero and J.C. Hooper, find a frozen corpse in a university's cryogenics facility. The frozen corpse tries to grab them, and they get terrified and run away. The corpse kills a medical student who was working at the lab, and then we get introduced to Detective Ray Cameron, whose ex-girlfriend, Pam, was murdered years ago by the ex-murderer shown at the beginning of the movie. Later on in the film, J.C. Hooper is infected by the alien slug parasites, which transform people into zombie-like hosts and eventually die. Chris, Ray Cameron, and Cynthia would eventually team up to fight against the zombies. This is a ridiculously fun movie that you simply cannot afford to miss at any cost. Invasion of the Saucermen, 1957. The movie was set out to be a serious science fiction film, but it eventually developed into a goofy movie. The movie opens on a note that might remind you of Fargo, a brilliant black comedy movie by the Coen brothers. The note states that it's a true story of flying saucers, despite the fact that it's a completely fictional tale. A similar storytelling device is used at the beginning of Fargo. At the beginning of the film, a con man named Joe Gruen witnesses the arrival of flying saucers in the sky. He decides to investigate further as he sees a lot of money in this opportunity. His partner, Art Burns, on the other hand, just wants to have a good night's sleep instead of making any effort to investigate the alien invasion. And then a teenage couple, Johnny Carter and Joan Hayden, accidentally run down one of the aliens while driving. Joe arrives there and senses an opportunity. In the meantime, the dead alien's buddies show up, and then they attack and kill him. They take away the alien corpse with them and put Joe's corpse in the same location, framing the teenage couple in the process. With a runtime of not more than 69 minutes, this movie doesn't leave any scope for boredom. The aliens in this movie look extremely creepy, and the special effects technician, Paul Blaisdell, deserves credit for that. Check it out. You won't regret it. Extra, 1982. Extra is fundamentally a flawed movie. The acting performances are not always up to the mark. A narrative that quickly jumps from idea to idea, not really going anywhere. That being said, despite its flaws, it's never boring. The movie remains weird throughout its runtime. It's full of excess and doesn't have a lot of breathing room, as it never seems to take a break. It's about a guy named Sam who gets abducted by aliens while playing with his son, Tony. 3 years later, an alien impregnates a young woman and she gives birth to a fully formed Sam. When that version of Sam returns home, unsurprisingly, something feels off. Sam is not the same guy anymore, and the rest of the story follows from there. And this is where the movie really becomes interesting and goes into that weird, uncanny zone. Sam's wife, Rachel, has also moved on with her life, and she's living with a man named Joe, who is deeply suspicious of Sam. And Rachel is in a different position right now, unable to decide whether to choose Sam or Joe. There is a scene in the movie in which Tony sees his dad eating his pet snake's eggs, and then Sam bites his son in the neck, and as a result of the bite, his son Tony develops psychic powers. There are several other weird and shocking scenes in this movie. It's cheap, weird, and trashy entertainment at its best. Teenagers from Outer Space, 1959. Tom Grafe wrote, directed, edited, produced, and also appeared in Teenagers from Outer Space, a movie from 1959, in which aliens want to take over Earth and use it as a food breeding ground for the giant lobsters on their planet. One of them, Derek, a young alien, defies his group. He falls in love with a pretty teenage girl from Earth, and they both team up to fight against the alien invaders. The premise of the film is absurd. The aliens who intend to invade Earth carry ray guns with themselves that can immediately turn humans into skeletons when fired. Tom Grafe was also the cinematographer for this film, and he was also responsible for the special effects and music coordination. a lot of guerrilla tactics were used to reduce the budget of the movie. Unfortunately, the cost-cutting ideas did not pay off. The space costumes look fake as they are simply flight suits decorated with masking tape. The ray gun was a Hubley's atomic disintegrator cap gun that only cost 5 cents. Several events in the movie are shown through stock footage or take place off-screen to keep production costs low. But despite its flaws, the film went on to become a cult classic. It was later shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000, Offbeat Cinema, and Sven Gulli. It was criticized and hated left, right, and center. And still, its cult status among science fiction fans endures. Zontar, The Thing from Venus, 1967. Larry Buchanan directed Zontar, The Thing from Venus, a television film released in 1967. The movie did not receive positive reviews at the time of its release. It had every reason to vanish from our collective memory. And yet, it developed a cult status over time, and people still talk about it. The movie starts with a NASA scientist named Dr. Keith Ritchie telling his colleague Dr. Kurt Taylor that he is secretly communicating with an alien from Venus named Zontar, who claims that if he comes to Earth, he will solve all the problems of the world. Zontar has 3 eyes. He's a black skeletal creature with wings quite similar to a bat's wings. At first, Dr. Keith Ritchie naively takes Zontar at face value as he genuinely believes in the inherent goodness of the alien he is communicating with. But Zontar has a sinister agenda on his mind. After coming to Earth, he starts causing power outages and taking control of people's minds. The local power outages in turn cause telephones, automobiles, and running water to stop working. In order to control people's minds, Zontar uses flying lobster-like creatures called injectopod that sprout from its wings. In the movie, Dr. Keith Ritchie eventually has a change of heart, and he decides to go and confront the alien invader from another planet. In a review for AllMovie, Paul Gaeta has written that Zontar is akin to a car crash, an unpleasant spectacle from which one cannot look away. TV Guide has stated that while the movie isn't good, it's not as bad as its reputation suggests. I think this is another movie on our list that easily belongs to that special category of so bad it's good movies, feeling right at home with movies like Tommy Wiseau's The Room and Plan 9 from Outer Space. Slither, 2006. Alright, show of hands, who doesn't know James Gunn? Arguably, he's one of the best directors of superhero films out there. His Guardians of the Galaxy movie trilogy is still one of the best things about the MCU, and currently, he's the co-CEO and co-chairman of DC Studios. But did you know that before any of those things happened, James Gunn launched his directorial career with a small horror comedy movie called Slither. He made his directorial debut with that film. Although the movie didn't perform well at the box office, crossing only $12 million against a budget of $15 million, it still received positive reviews at the time of its release, and since then, it's attained a cult following. This is a well-crafted movie, and we expect nothing less than that from a filmmaker as talented as James Gunn. Almost all his films speak to the beauty and vulnerability of what makes us human, and even in his directorial debut, one can easily see that. In this film, an extraterrestrial parasite enters the town of Wheelsey in South Carolina. There it first infects Grant and Brenda. Eventually, the parasite infects the whole town, except for a few people. Grant's wife, Starla, Bill, and Kylie are some of the people left in the town who don't get infected. Eventually, they team up to fight against the people who have been infected by extraterrestrial parasites, and from there, the rest of the story follows. Before this movie, James Gunn wrote the script for Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, which also happens to be a great zombie horror film. So when James Gunn was making this movie, he was working in a territory that he was already familiar with. If you want to watch a grotesque, creepy, and fun movie, this directorial debut by James Gunn is definitely something you can go for. Every movie on this list is bound to entertain you in one form or another. Several filmmakers throughout the history of cinema have portrayed aliens in diverse ways. Many films have portrayed them as villains. Others have portrayed them in a more positive light. For example, Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extra-terrestrial. Other movies have still portrayed them in more complex ways, as metaphors or representations of real-world problems that plague human life. One of the reasons why we love alien invasion movies so much is that we want to wonder about the various possibilities of how humans are going to interact with extraterrestrial creatures if they ever step on Earth. Alright folks, this is where we sign off. We hope you enjoyed our video. Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Take care and stay tuned. We'll be back soon with our next video.